Hi guys, welcome to day 7 of our Resurrect Your Creativity. Today we're going to look at feathers. Well, in this video we're going to look at feathers. So feathers are quite an interesting thing to draw, and people tend to start getting them confused with leaves, and I've been shown 2 different ways to do them. Now, because it's a drawing challenge, I'm not going to add any colour to these ones. I am just going to use a pencil, and these are 2 fine line pens, just 2 different size nibs, but you don't actually need them, they're just for definition. So I'm going to go horizontal just because it's a little bit easier. Now, feathers are made up of 2 aspects. There's the shaft, which is the central part, and then the feathers coming off, whatever they're called. So your feather will start a bit fuzzy down the bottom, and it's got like a leaf shape to it, it's got a curve to it. So we'll do that in a bit more detail. Now, it's always a curve. Some of them are straighter than others, but most of the ones I've found have some sort of curve, and also I quite like drawing them with a curve. And that tapers towards the edge. Okay. So there's the main bit there. Now, there's 2 ways there's 2 ways I've been shown for this bit. So the first one is to put your outline in, so that curved outline that you get with the feather, down to there, and then you start filling those in with various sizes of line, and these lines are going to curve up slightly because the feathers do curve up towards the tip, and I'll fill that in a moment. Other way, I'll do this slightly differently, moving water around. So again, another curved shaft type line, it's tapering, and then there's the actual feather shape, so the quills, and it's a swirl almost like that, and you can do as many or as few of these as you like to build it up into a feather. So I'm going to put my pencil to one side. I'm going to go over to the fine liner just because it's much easier for you guys to see with it, and it's much easier for me to just go straight in with. But don't be afraid yourself to have a bit of a practice first. So first thing I want is the centre of the feather, and you know, if you get a line that's too sharp, don't worry, just embrace it, just go for it. It's your safe, secure environment to do whatever you need, and it doesn't need to be perfect. Nothing ever needs to be perfect. So I'm going to start down here and just do the outside line of my feather. And down the bottom, right at the base of the feather, you'll find that you've got little fluffy swirly ones. They're not nice and neat. They are very fluffy and a bit ad hoc. So don't be afraid to put those down the bottom and make it a little bit less neat. And then we're coming into here. Now, these are just thin lines that are going to go back and forward. You can leave spaces, they can be irregular, they can be regular if you like, it doesn't really matter, but they do need to be curved. And the other thing is to use 2 different size nibs, so that's the other reason I picked this up. So we've got a really fine nib we can go in and do some other bits with and create some differentiation and some shading. So I'll finish this off. And the angle of these will become more acute as you get towards the tip of the feather. And don't forget, they're natural, feathers are natural, so you don't get really nice straight even lines. There is irregularity to them. Yeah. And they're never quite at the same angle. Now you can shade or colour these however you like. You don't have to, you can just leave them as pen drawings, which is what I'm going to do with them. Or at least with these ones. And you just keep playing with shape until you find what you're happy with. If you don't put enough prongs in these, they do tend to start looking a bit like leaves doing it this way. But if you've got the prongs in, there's no reason it should look like a leaf. And a couple of the caps there. There we are. So that's the first one. Second one, I'm going to do exactly the same for the stem. There. Bit offline there. And again, if you need to use guidelines for it, you can. I'm using the pencil as literally a guideline. It's not going to feature at all in this, because this is a slightly different way of doing it. So just odd spacing, and they don't need to be exact. Some of them are going to overlap, some of them are going to be slightly flatter, so just keep going with it and build up your feather. and as you come up to the top here they become more rounded and more of a curve. There we go. These to me very even, which is why I'm going back in and building some more. I'm going back in and building some more layers up so it's not so even. I like them being a little bit more random and not so neat and tidy, but you might prefer a very neat tidy effect, and that is perfectly fine. Some of these prongs are going to be slightly shorter than others, but that's okay too. There we go. So that's 2 ways to draw feathers, and you can colour them in however you want. You can shape them however you want. You can erase the lines, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll take that one out. But just remember, feathers are quite natural things, so they're not going to look perfect.